All right, everyone. So welcome to Light Painting Brushes Live, January edition. We got an exciting show for you this month. From England, we've got Mike Hanlon with us. He's going to be doing an image breakdown. So Mike, with that, could you go ahead and just do a quick introduction of yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Jason, and hi to everyone. Nice to meet you all. So, as Jason said, my name's Mike. I'm from Oxford in the UK. I've been light painting for a few years on and off, to be honest. I first started light painting with some friends of mine, really just messing around, trying different things, usually playing with steel wool because that was kind of fun. But there wasn't really much structure to it. We were just going out having a bit of a laugh, really, but it was good fun. It probably taught me the basics that I needed to take it a little bit more seriously. Now I tend to go out on my own now, just into the local countryside mostly. So I live in Oxfordshire in the UK, which is fairly rural. So I live in a town, but on my doorstep is some really nice countryside. So I tend to head off into the woods or into the country whenever I can, which is not as often as I'd like, but whenever I can, trying different things out, but quite often going back to some of those fun things like the steel wool or painting orbs and things like that, because I know those get done a lot nowadays, but those are the things that really got me into light painting. I still have a mini obsession with orbs now, and I'm not sure that will ever leave me, to be honest.
Right. Well, there was an image that you had posted, so I'm going to go ahead and screen share and show everybody the image in the breakdown. Give me 1 second here. So, as always, I love seeing light painting techniques, especially techniques that have been around for a while. And I love when I see somebody, take something that has been around for a while, let's say, and they add their own twist on it. With the spirograph, where did this inspiration come from with the spirographs? You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, a couple of places. I can't take any credit for the inspiration, if I'm honest. Most of it comes from Jason's page. So the tutorial that you had on the Light Painting Brushes site, I saw that a little while ago. That kind of piqued my interest because as a kid, I kind of liked drawing spirographs. It was something I kind of liked doing as a kid. And when I saw that, it looked like a fun thing to do. I've got a 7-year-old boy, and he quite likes light painting with me. I thought this would be quite a cool way for us to light paint together because we can do it at home, we can do it in an indoor controlled environment. It's fun. So we started playing around. I did a couple of shoots playing with different light sources. Some were more successful than others. I really liked the effects, but initially the one thing I was a little bit disappointed with, or what's bugging me a little bit, was that I felt the lines were a little bit too thick, for want of a better word. And then towards the center of the spirograph, I was losing the detail that I wanted. So I can't take any credit for this. I contacted Jason again to try and lean on his experience, just to see if he had any advice on how I could get that finer point of light, just to try and make some more intricate looking spiros. He gave me some pointers. And I ended up using the crystal light pens, modified slightly, but using the crystal light pens, and they turned out pretty well. This is one of those images from that shoot. Jason, you're on mute.
Mute. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so that was my next question. The light in the spirograph, it's absolutely on point. You had stated that you used the crystal light pens. How exactly what did you do? Was there some kind of modification to the crystal light pen to make that light so pinpoint like that?
There were, yeah, it was modified. Pretty basic modifications though. So I took the crystal light pen, some black electrical tape, and I taped up everything but the very tip of the light pen. The light pen works very well because it's got that fine pointed end. I thought if I can tape everything but that final point, it will really limit the amount of light being emitted. So yeah, that's what I did. It worked out pretty well. I also added some weight to the torch itself, so the swing wouldn't lose its momentum quickly, and then as a result, it worked out pretty well first time. I tended to get these more intricate lines. Even with this, I think there's probably some more I could do just to tape up a little bit more, just to try and get an even finer line, but I was pretty happy with this result.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's what really intrigued me about it, was just how it's so precise, and those lines are absolutely beautiful. What were your settings, camera lens? Do you remember what type of flashlight that you used?
Flashlight was I'm trying to think what it was. I'm not sure what flashlight it was. I've got that many. I'm not sure which one it was, but camera was the Olympus EM5 with a 12 to 40 mm lens, but I used shooting it as wide as possible. So I just as wide as possible, just to make sure I didn't miss anything or didn't cut anything out of the image. Shutter, sorry, f/22, ISO 200. I think this was about an 8-minute exposure.
Wow.
Because of the weights that I put on the end of the torch, that's what really allowed me to extend that shutter time. So prior to putting the weights on, I was having to stop exposure after about a minute or so, because the momentum from the swings was just being lost, and it was just, the swing was just stopping too soon. But when I added the weight, and I added maybe about 2.5 kilos, so quite a bit of weight to the torch itself, the momentum really stuck with it. And we got a lot more as a result.
Yeah, the setup, like, can you run us through the process? Like, is it like, how are you spinning the spirographs? Is some kind of rig that you made at home, or?
I'm not sure I'd go as far as to call it a rig. It's pretty basic again. Lots of tape and lots of string. So everything I do is pretty basic, to be honest. I've got it here actually. So I've got a torch. You probably can't see that very well.
If you want to go ahead and share, you can share your screen if you'd like. We can see it.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Here, I'll stop sharing and should be able to share it now. Actually, we can see you right there. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So the light source itself, just your standard.
Hey, Mike, hang on one second. If you actually take yourself off screen share, and then when you speak, Jay, if he's pinned, it'll go to him. There you go.
Okay.
There we go.
Is that better?
Yep, yeah. Perfect. Yep.
So yeah, standard light. I've got the connector, the light crystal pen attached to that. I've got one bag of weights attached. This is just lead shot that you can see. I've only attached it to one side here because I tried another shoot just with weights on one side, and it created some quite cool effects, less uniform type spirographs. They went a little bit crazy, but I kind of liked the effects. But for the shot that we were showing a minute ago, I had weights on both sides. The light crystal itself, you probably can't really see it, but everything but that very tip is taped up. Using string, trying to get it as central as possible. This was just attached to the ceiling. I tried to keep the string as long as I possibly could, and then really from there, it's just a case of getting the camera set up on the floor, looking directly up at it, focused with all the lights on, switching everything off, and swung the torch. I waited for the swing to settle down a bit, because I find for the first few seconds it goes a bit crazy, but after 2 or 3 seconds, open the shutter at that point, and then, as I said, let it run for about 8 minutes for the shot.
Okay.
So yeah, there's the rig is pretty basic, but it works. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely works. Do you have any suggestions or important pointers that for others that would like to try spirographs like this?
I think I've probably covered a lot of it already. So I think using quite a long piece of string or having a long tether is important, because otherwise you just don't get the momentum. You don't get the amount of swings that you want, and it just loses momentum very quickly. Adding the weight I found was really important, and like I said, adding it to around the weight evenly gives you that uniform shape. But by removing weights in certain ways and just having one half of the torch weighted, I found that did create some really cool effects. Less uniform, so I guess it kind of depends what sort of shot you want to make. There's a bit more chaos in some of those shots. But they also came out pretty well. Another point, and this is something I think, Jason, you probably covered in another one of your tutorials as well. So again, I can't take any credit for it, but by spinning the torch spinning the torch so that the string is twisted before you then swing the torch for the shot itself, when it swings and the torch unravels, it creates some quite nice spiral effects. That's worked pretty well, I've found, because I find from the first few swings you get spirals, but then it settles down into a more uniform shape. So the outside of your spirograph looks a little bit crazy, but the inner circle of the spirograph looks quite neat, and it does create some quite nice effects.
What inspires or motivates you through, sharing your creative vision? Is there, where's the inspiration and what inspires you? You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what got me into light painting, it was probably, and I think I stumbled across this rather than looking for it. I really liked Dennis Smith's Ball of Light project, and when I stumbled across that online a few years ago, I thought his shots were beautiful. I thought I mentioned earlier, I have a mini obsession with orbs, probably a slightly unhealthy obsession with them. I thought his shots were really stunning. So quite simple images in a way, but beautiful landscapes, really on point orbs. And that really piqued my interest. And then when I started to look at groups like the Light Painting Brushes group on Facebook and others, you realize what others are doing out there. That gets you thinking. When you then start trying different light sources out and you see how they turn out, quite often unexpected, it gives you a bit of motivation, a bit of inspiration, if you like. And I find now that when I'm out and about, whether it's walking the dog out in the woods or whatever, I'm constantly looking to see, could that make a good light painting? It's turned into a bit of an obsession. But I think the creativity comes really from seeing a lot of the work that is posted on groups like this. I mean, guys like Dimitri and Christina, who I know have joined these groups, their work is incredible. And when you see works like that, it makes you think, I could try something like that, but maybe try and put my own little twist on it. Sometimes it works, sometimes not so much, but it's always good fun as well. I find when I go out, particularly when I go out on my own, actually into the country light painting, it's quite therapeutic. It's quite a nice place to be. And in my job, where I'm stuck in front of the computer most of the time, that's quite a nice release. It's a mental release as much as anything else. It's good fun, and when you get some cool images off the back of it, it's very nice. And there's still that kind of childhood joy, if you like, where when you're shooting something at night, swinging a load of torches around like a maniac, and then you look at how that image turns out. It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. So yeah, I think that's where it comes from.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, we love having you part of the community and sharing with us. How can people follow along with you? What's the best way to keep up with the things that you're doing and see more of your work?
So I'm in the process of putting the website together, but I've been saying that for a while. I haven't actually done it yet. So I'm posting most of what I would consider my half decent stuff on the Facebook group or I'm on Instagram. So you'll be able to find me on Instagram as well. So I can post my details here for you if you are interested in following me there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely put that in the chat there. Jason, I know I saw a question come up in the chat there. Do you want to see if anybody has any questions? I know someone had typed something there.
Yeah, Sherry just asked, can you will you pull up the image again there, Jay?
Yeah.
And Sherry asked is that image a single swing or multiple swings?
Yeah, this one is a single swing. So one swing, and I've just let it really slowly lose momentum to the point where in that center line where it does start to get a bit busy, that's where I called it a day. That's where I shut it down. But yeah, it's a single swing. I have got a few other spirographs where I have tried to incorporate multiple swings. Some are more successful than others, if I'm honest. But yeah, this one is a single swing.
I actually had a question I just thought about. So do you find like the more weight that you add, the better the rotation, the more precise the lines? You said 8 minutes. So is that swinging for a consistent 8 minutes to produce a spirograph, or was there multiple swings?
Yeah, this is just one swing. Yeah, one swing.
Perfect. Yeah, so it has to do with that amount of weight that you have there, just that momentum of swinging it around and everything. So okay.
I think so. Yeah. I've not tried to add any more weight than about 2.5 kilos, but And I think there probably is a tipping point. I was a bit scared of pulling the ceiling down, but yeah, I think adding the weight does help. How much weight you add, how much that would change it, I'm not sure. I think that's something to try.
I'd like to just that image is the inside of that image. Jay, can you pull it back up? Sorry again, but just seeing the inside of that image, like I don't know how many spirographs I've done in my days, but I've never seen that before. You know what I mean? It's so cool to be able to see those fine lines. Because like I said, anytime I've done one, I've never done like you did and really made that a fine point of light where you get to see all those geometric patterns and shapes that it's fascinating to me. But sorry, I went off on a tangent. I had a question from somebody just want to know if you use live composite or just one single long exposure.
For this shot, it was a single long exposure. I do use live composite quite often, but for this, no, this was just one single exposure.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was hitting on too. You know, when you see domes and you see orbs, and you know, those are techniques that have been around for a while. And when you see someone put their own twist on it, and it's new to me. When I saw this, it was like seeing a spirograph for the first time. So I can totally relate what Jason was saying. It's absolutely beautiful. It's very intriguing, and those lines are just so captivating. It grabbed me right away. So I knew right away I had to get a hold of you and sit down with you and talk with you about this. So it's really a fascinating image, and really appreciate you being a part of the community and being here this evening. Again, we'll see if we have any more questions. Anybody want to ask Mike anything else?
I have a question. It's Dennis Smith here.
Hey, Dennis.
Hey, can you see me?
Nope.
Your screen's black.
Okay, give me 2 ticks. I've just logged in and I had to reload. Let me just unplug this camera.
Okay, well, while we wait, Christina asked, how'd you get
Thanks,
the
mate.
square effect? Is that the weights or the length of the cord? What gives it go from round to square?
It's for momentum. As the swing loses momentum, I noticed that it started to shift shape, and it might just have been the way that I had the string set up. It started to change from being quite circular to almost, very elliptical. And that elliptical shape, it accentuated over time. Particularly as
I kind of wondered if that wasn't from the 2 strings on either side versus a single string in the middle. It seems as it loses momentum, it would start going linear.
Yeah, could well be.
Okay, Mike, I got a question. Firstly, excuse the state of me. I woke up about 3 minutes ago, which is hilarious, but I've got my coffee, so everything's fine. Hey, firstly, do you know how damn nice it is to be connecting with anyone in the light painting community? I've been off social media since August, but anyway, Mike, what a delight to log in and see that bloody image on the screen. And I tell you, is that an orb up behind you over your shoulder?
It is, yeah. So if you joined a few minutes ago, you probably wouldn't have heard, but you're my light painting hero, so it's a bad.
Oh, shut up. That's gorgeous, mate. You know what I love about that? I can barely see it, but you know what I love about that is you've got the orb in the middle, but what I love is that it's teasing me with the light on the trees, and you've lit the trees from an angle which is so unbelievably delightful. I would love you to email me that so I can have a look at it. But I've got a comment about your spirograph. What I love about it is when you see what I saw immediately is the way that the LED is the power of it is changing as it goes through the air. And I think that's something that I'm about to do a tutorial on how to build how to use LEDs and light painting. One of the things I'll be talking about a lot is the effective angle of the light that comes out of the LED. And that's what you've done with that, is you've got a very narrow beam, which means that you get the amazing pattern, but inside the pattern, and inside the track of the LED, you get a variation in power on it. And I think that adds beautifully. So yeah, magic, man. What a stunning photograph.
Thank you.
Dennis, thanks for being here, man. It's great to see
you.
Oh, dude. I would have Jason messaged me the link. I came down the stairs, fed the cats and made a coffee, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so doing this.
right?
It's nice to see you guys. It's been a pretty wild year, really, but the last 6 months has been pretty insane for me. But I'm in a better place, both artistically and mentally and physically, than I've been in the last 10 years. And I don't know if you got the time. I'd love to share a bit about that. I think it's probably valuable for anyone that wants to listen. Give me 180 seconds.
Right.
We'll come back. We're going to come back to that, but
Thank you,
Yeah,
Jason. I love you, mate.
Absolutely. There's a
wait,
couple
let me go.
questions
Hold
in
on.
there.
Oh,
Yeah.
AJ, let me go to Mike real quick. One more. Can you, just Christina was asking again about, or just mentioning that she's getting just circular shapes. And I really do think, as what Johnny was pointing out there, that the double string. So can you hold up the rig one more time just to kind of show that?
Yeah, sure. So I placed, see that okay? I placed the string either side of it as centrally as possible, just taped around it. So with the intention being that it swings quite uniformly. But I think, to Johnny's point, it probably does then cause more of an elliptical shape as it starts to lose momentum.
I got a feeling we're going to see a bunch of spirographs here coming up soon.
Yeah.
Can I just ask? So, like, recently, I thought, like in the past when I teach the spirographs to my students, I would attach it to background stands. And actually the movement in the background stands moving a little bit helps to kind of create an interesting design. But I decided to attach it to just a really high ceiling and getting just perfectly circular shapes, and I'm not getting that overlap like the way his, you know what I'm talking about, like the spirograph overlap. So if I put a weight on one side, would that help to like change the shape a little bit?
I think it might. I think one of the things that I perhaps haven't mentioned that might be different as well is that I attached it to the ceiling, but via a beam. So I wrapped the string around a beam on the ceiling in my shed, actually. And that might as well have some sort of impact on the momentum, perhaps. So that might cause it to lose its circular shape over time. So that could be worth trying.
Hey, Mike, I wanted to tell you something pretty funny. So me and Johnny have had some discussions about this, but one of my dream images is a spirograph, but a spirograph from a crane. So I'm hoping we're going to be doing a meetup. We're hoping to plan a meetup, either in Arkansas or somewhere. Don't know all the details yet, but the plan is to potentially somehow get a hold of a crane and produce a giant spirograph in the air from a crane. So something you might find interesting.
I love that idea as well. Feel free to give me a shout. I'd like to join you on that one. That sounds fun.
Here's another potential version of it in the main foyer of the art gallery, the National Gallery in Victoria, in Melbourne, here in Australia. There was an art piece there it has to have been for 5 years, because I saw it and I walked in, and what it was, very high ceiling, maybe 30 or 40 meters. But there was an installation, and it was a fan. So just a normal desk fan, right, with a maybe diameter half a meter, just a normal desk fan, but it was upside down and suspended by a chain from the ceiling. And the fan was running, and what would happen, and it would go to about a meter above your head. But what was beautiful about it, what made it art, is it was completely unpredictable, because it would depend on the flow of air through the room, and it would depend on just the randomness of where the fan would go. And I designed a rig for a big space that I use here in Adelaide to set up the same rig, but attach LEDs to the bottom of it. So it was almost like an anti-spirograph. It was still the same motion of light traveling through the air, but because of the randomness of it, I thought that would be really fascinating. So you could do that on your crane, Jace, you crazy nut.
Absolutely, man. I love it. Hey, you know what? With that, Mike, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here with us this evening. And just keep up the great work. Really appreciate following along and seeing what you're doing. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. And it's been a real pleasure to be here and to join you all. So yeah, thank you very much.